child sex gang jailed for 89 years. 8 predatory men abused girls as young as 13. The gang, aged 36 to 48, were branded predatory and cynical by a judge as the court heard the men plied the girls with drink and drugs at parties in Oxford. Judge Peter Ross said the case uncovered systematic and widespread grooming. The sex attacks took place between 1998 and 2005 when the victims were aged between 13 and 17. Investigating officer, Detective Sergeant Nicola Douglas, of the Thames Valley Police Major Crime Unit, said, "I would like to say a huge thank you to the victims who have all demonstrated such courage and bravery throughout the investigation and during the trial. I know nothing can ever undo the unimaginable suffering they were put through, but I hope it gives them some comfort to know these men have finally been held accountable for the abhorrent crimes they committed. None of the perpetrators have admitted their guilt or shown any remorse." Various defenses were deployed throughout this lengthy and complex trial, but the jury remained focused and diligent and were able to reach their guilty verdicts on the evidence presented. The impact of these offenses on the victims, their families and relationships cannot be underestimated. There are devastating consequences which last long after the offense is committed. Without these women telling their stories, perpetrators who exploit and commit serious sexual offenses against some of the most vulnerable children and young adults in our communities will remain hidden, unpunished and free to do more harm. All of the men were convicted at Oxford Crown Court in February and March this year. 2 of the men were sentenced in April at Oxford Crown Court, and the remaining 6 were sentenced today, 12/6, at the same court. Adrian Foster, Chief Crown Prosecutor for Thames and Chiltern Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, said, "These cases are, in effect, organized crime, and we approached this case in the same way we would approach any organized crime case by making connections, and building an understanding of criminal networks. We worked closely with Thames Valley Police from early in the investigation to help build the strongest possible prosecution case. Their investigators, and Crown Prosecution Service lawyers and caseworkers, have worked tirelessly to bring this difficult prosecution to court. I thank all who bravely came forward to provide evidence for the prosecution. The emotional impact on the victims and their family of the abhorrent actions of these men is impossible to quantify. I hope that today's sentences give some small comfort to them." Oxford sex gang jailed, Cameron Kahn, aged 36, of Cursington Crescent, was sentenced to a total of 8 years imprisonment. He was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of false imprisonment. He was found not guilty of 1 count of rape. On 15 March he was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of indecent assault. His offenses relate to 2 female victims. Rahim Ahmed, aged 40, of Starward Path, was sentenced to 12 years in jail. He was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 2 counts of indecent assault and 1 count of false imprisonment. He was found not guilty of 1 count of rape. His offenses relate to 3 female victims. Asad Hussain, aged 37, of Morell Avenue, was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 12 years to be served. Hussain was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of rape and 1 count of indecent assault. Asad Hussain was found guilty by unanimous verdict of a further 4 counts of rape and a further count of indecent assault. He was found not guilty of 1 count of indecent assault. He was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of conspiracy to rape. He was found guilty by a majority verdict of a further count of conspiracy to rape, and by unanimous verdict of a further count of conspiracy to rape. His offenses relate to 2 female victims. Khalid Hussain, aged 38, of Ashurst Way, was sentenced to a total of 12 years imprisonment. He was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of indecent assault. He was found not guilty of 1 count of rape and 1 alternative count of indecent assault. He was found guilty by unanimous verdict on 23 March of 1 count of rape. His offenses relate to 1 female victim. Kamir Iqbal, aged 39, of Dashwood Avenue, was sentenced to a total of 12 years imprisonment. Iqbal was found guilty by unanimous verdict on 27 February of 2 counts of rape. On 15 March he was found guilty by unanimous verdict of a further count of rape. His offenses relate to one female victim. Haji Khan, aged 38, of the Willows, was sentenced to a total of 10 years imprisonment. Khan was found not guilty on 15 March by unanimous verdict of one count of rape. Haji Khan was found guilty by unanimous verdict of one count of conspiracy to rape. He was found not guilty by unanimous verdict of one count of indecent assault. His offenses relate to one female victim. Aladida Yusuf, aged 48, of Bodley Road, was sentenced to a total of 7.5 years imprisonment. Yusuf was found guilty by unanimous verdict of one count of indecent assault. His offenses relate to one female victim. Moinul Islam, aged 41, of Wycombe Crescent, was sentenced today to a total of 15 years and 9 months imprisonment. Islam was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 2 counts of indecent assault and 1 count of supplying a Class B drug. Islam was found guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of supplying a Class A drug, 1 count of rape, and 1 count of supplying a Class C drug. He was found not guilty by unanimous verdict of 1 count of false imprisonment. His offenses relate to 2 female victims. The sentencings follow a 6-month trial which began in October 2017 and concluded in March this year.